Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, wait till the counter starts counting. How you been, guys?
yeah, doing good.
Y'all on
Hanging
the
in there,
campaign road and
Oh yeah, on the
busy,
campaign road,
busy.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Been seeing you all over the place. You've been doing your due diligence.
trying to.
There's the
It's,
counter. There we go. Here we go, guys. We are here with Dennis Turner and Andy Smith, just bringing up your campaign there. The second Kor-Drath. So cool.
yeah.
Now, someone said two categories that they saw getting hot, and I can't remember what one was, but one stuck with me was sort of barbarian and fantasy. Do you agree with that in the next 5 years that that's going to be kind of the thing? And here's another example: Fire and Ice.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, I will say I sincerely hope so.
Yeah, well, yeah, of
For
course.
very
You're gonna
selfish
lean.
reasons. I hope it gets so hot and blows up, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, the next movie should be Kor-Drath.
Now, Andy, what
I'll
does
be
this
like,
do to your other IPs like First Man and other jungle related books and other things you've done in the past? Does it kind of put them on the back burner, or you kind of what?
I mean, yeah, a little bit, sure. First Man is on the back burner for now.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, I mean, honestly, it is always rolling around in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now it is, because we want to keep, well, I want to keep working on Kor-Drath, and with how well the first one did, Dennis and I definitely want to roll along with the second one and
Mhm.
hopefully outperform the first one, and
Right.
so on and so
I'm
forth.
sure it probably will, guys. I mean, is it on track right now, you think, to outperform?
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
Yeah.
I didn't exactly, I guess I could go back and look. I haven't done that, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty
You don't
sure,
know where you wound up at?
We wound
what's
up
that?
at just under 109,000.
Yeah, I thought you brought the 100K. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We did. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this has only been launched for a couple of days, and we broke 30, 31, I think. So,
Yep.
I say we're streaming right along the line.
I think you are too. Yeah. I mean, especially in this downturned economy. And,
Exactly.
once you fulfill, and Andy, you've done a lot of campaigns. So, I mean, people know you're going to deliver, and it's going to be nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just finished delivering. Actually, I took them to the post office around lunchtime today, the last of these, and
Oh, yeah.
this was
Nice and
supposed to,
tight.
yeah, and this was supposed to fulfill in May, and it's still April. So that's my goal, is to always fulfill on time, or if early, I would love to be able to do that.
Now
Whenever
that's not your
possible.
first book on drawing.
No, and I mean, that's not really a how to draw book. It just focuses on literally just, I got to put the rest up on my website, but it literally just focuses on pencil pages. Every page is a nice scan of a full pencil page from something I worked on.
Oh, okay. Green Lantern there. There you go. That was formally unpublished, I guess.
No, all this stuff is published.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So,
So
well, the only thing that's not was that.
Well, what's the process when you have like an IP that's not yours from like DC Comics of getting their permission to actually publish it, in something like that? You just ask them politely or what?
Please take me off full screen.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was trying to get Abby off of there too. My dog up there in
Oh
the
yeah.
corner.
Oh.
Yeah.
So no. I mean, the book is done now, but
Right.
you see a lot of people that do sketchbooks and things like that that feature other IPs, and basically
Comes
it's
under
not.
fair use then?
Sure. We'll just go with that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, we'll cut
Yeah,
that
I mean, I'm
short.
not publishing anything with word balloons, so you
Oh,
can actually
okay.
read the story. I'm not publishing
Yeah.
full stories, so like there's that whole book is a smattering of stuff, just a couple
Okay.
pages of this, a couple pages of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. So
Now I've got to ask you, have you ever seen this book? I was really surprised when I opened it up. I got it because of the nice cover. Had
Sure.
never seen it before. Did you know this, gentleman? This is a memorial comic, and it's got a lot of Marvel stuff in it. Did you know, Vincent?
Vincent J. No, who? I mean,
He did some
I was
what
in
if
your-
stories and other stuff. It's
Mm-mm.
actually pretty neat, and it's got some like a Jimmy Palmiotti piece in the back, and some other artists that were kind of tribute to him that I guess had worked with him before. I just wondered if you knew him.
No, I don't recognize the
Yeah,
name.
I was really surprised when I
Really?
opened that book up because it didn't look like your typical Marvel book, but he had done several things. I picked up a couple issues of Florida Man at my local comic
Oh
book
yeah,
shop.
Florida Man's great.
From Mike Barron, and I picked up an Andy Smith, believe it or not, issue for.
Oh, I bet Dennis
$1.
doesn't have it.
Yeah, Quasar 50.
Oh no!
Shut your mouth.
Hey, there's
That is
nothing
one of the
wrong
most
with
sought
Quasar
after,
50.
hottest books there is.
I had to
Dennis,
remind him. I
when
had
you
to
retire
remind
off that
Andy that
book.
he had actually drawn the Living Mummy, and he's like, I don't think I've ever drawn the Living Mummy. Well, it was in Quasar, and then he got to looking and was like, oh, there's if you had asked me if I'd ever drawn Spider Woman, I would have said no, and there she was.
And there she was in Quasar.
Yeah. When you do so much, one character I'd like to see you draw is Blue Devil from DC Comics. That'd be a good one.
That is funny. I was just looking at some Blue Devil. And I don't have like.
Were you?
I have like one issue because it was drawn by Gil Kane. But the other day I was looking at some issues online, and is that number one?
No, this is actually, and number one's not his first appearance. Remember, he was in one of those 16-page previews that they were doing at the time. That's number 31.
Oh, okay. I really like Blue Devil. I like the costume design.
Yeah.
I think it was fun. Friend Gary Martin, way back in the day, was cutting his inking chops on that book. He didn't start with the first issue, but he ended up inking a lot of Blue Devil comics. Oh yeah, Claw
by Andy Smith there.
That's right. That's the beginning of the Barbarian stuff for me.
Yeah.
It was like the first time I tasted chocolate milk. I just couldn't get it out of my mouth. First time I drew Barbarians, I had to go back.
Dan Lawless is big on Barbarian stuff, Conan anyway, but he's like, I actually prefer that type of stuff because I don't have to draw clothes.
Well, I mean,
his reasoning.
Okay, so Dan likes Richard Corbin's Den. Got it. Yeah. For those that, Dennis, do you know what that is?
Nope.
Really?
Richard Corbin. Do you know who Richard Corbin is? Was?
Yep, but I don't know what
shocking
Den
me,
is.
Dennis. I thought
Den
you knew
is
everything comics.
Yeah, Den is a book that he did. Well, not a book. They collected it into a book. I think it originally came out in heavy metal. But the point is, the main character, this buff dude named Den, real buff dude, ran around naked. So it sounds like something, Dan likes drawing people with no clothes.
And did you remember from the UK, Slain?
Oh yeah, Slain. I've got
like
Slain.
Yeah, Slain. Yeah, he was kind of a barbaric type character.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Slain. You know what Slain is, right, Dennis?
Yeah, no, I know I didn't collect any of that. I mean,
Right.
I've got a lot of comics, but I've got a wide array too. But I focused in on X-Men. I focused in on the fantasy stuff. I've got Conan, but Forgotten Realms, AD&D.
Well, Dennis, how do you not wind up with extra stuff when like you buy lots or
I don't buy
whatever?
lots.
Have you never done that?
Nope, don't buy lots. I
Really?
don't.
Okay.
Nope. I pick up what I need, and actually, most of my stuff, we do conventions all the time, and I have for like 10 years, and so most of my stuff, even when I was finishing off my X-Men collection, they all knew, all the dealers knew. Oh, Dennis needs X-Men 4. He's working backwards. So I would walk in and be like, hey, I got a 4, I got a 3. What else are you collecting? And that's how I get most of my stuff.
So
It's
the
true.
books you have in your possession are your collection.
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah. I don't buy
What you want.
collections. I know guys that, sling books and they'll buy whole collections, pull out some and then just sell them off. I don't have time for that. I mean, it's fun to sit down and go through them. Don't get me wrong, but I appraise comics and stuff too. So, I've seen other people's collections and do that.
Mhm.
But in terms of me finding time to buy whole collections, go through them and then sell them, I don't sell my stuff. So there's no point in me doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But usually if people recommend books, I'll be like, I've never heard of that. Cool. I'll go down and get it. Occasionally I'll sell a few to friends of mine that go to shows and stuff like that. But, you were asking what's hot. The two right now really is fantasy. And on the TV end of it, it's video games. That is the new hot property, is fantasy and video game titles like Fallout just finished. Halo, the second season just wrapped up. There's a whole bunch more that they're working their way out right now.
So was Valiant ahead of its time, you think? I mean, because they were doing that's what they started out with doing, was the gaming stuff, but it wasn't like the realistic Halo stuff.
Right.
It was more like,
Yeah, and it's
Zelda
all good stuff, but ahead of their time, or is it they missed their window?
Yeah, I don't know. Valiant, when the books first came out, they did big numbers, but those numbers weren't real.
Did they really?
Okay.
I
mean, they eventually started doing real numbers, but from what I heard in the beginning, they were, I can't remember how they actually did it, but whether they ordered and because they ordered, or no, wait, what was it? They might have
had a return policy.
If I remember right, and this is a long time ago, if I remember the story correctly, it was the orders come in under print or print enough, and obviously they have some to hold back, but they short ship to the stores. So it's like, ooh, this book is hot because we ordered 10 and we only got 6 or whatever, and it helps boost it, something like that.
Well, I know their print run, even during the superhero stuff, was like 50,000 was a big run. I mean,
right.
But then when something would hit like Harbinger, they only had 50,000, and that book climbed up in price for a little while, and I still think.
And then Turok number 1 was
stuff is limited.
Yeah. Turok number 1, which Bart worked on.
Yeah.
Bart Sears drew. I mean, that thing did over 1 million copies. And the problem is, it's funny because, I remember that. It's funny because you see so many of those Turoks in dollar boxes, but then every now and then somebody will have it with their main stuff at a convention for, I don't know, $10-15. And you're just like, either this guy knows it's only worth $1 because that's what most of them sell for.
Yeah.
And he's really trying to pass one over, or he's just clueless.
Now they really printed a bunch of those, didn't they? Some of the chromium covers like that.
Yeah, they did some chromiums. I think I think it was 1.7 million.
Like Bloodshot.
I think that includes everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But I mean, that was kind of conflated in a bubble, right? I mean,
I think.
with the Image stuff, and of course Valiant was vying in there, and I think Bly Blayton was wanting to start off Valiant with the superhero line, is what I've heard, but it was like the guys in charge was like, no, we're going with the gaming first, and that kind of took a hit on that, and that kind of really hit them when it come to hiring some of the top talent as far as the art was concerned. I don't know. I mean, they had wonderful stories. They had greats like Steve Ditko, of course, Bob Layton himself, and other people working for him. I didn't,
Yeah.
I just think and I think there was some excitement about some of the books at the time. I think it was a good time for comics.
Yeah, I mean they came in 90. I'm trying to remember, was it like 92, 93? And it was good, but then, they suffered just like everybody did
Yeah.
when the bubble burst, because that's when I was working for them doing EXO every couple months, or Bart and I were rotating penciling EXO Manowar, and maybe a year and change after is when Valiant started to implode. But then everybody was, so it wasn't just
Right.
them.
I think Valiant only publishes like one title now. Is that right? And they kind of rotate around their characters within that one title. They're pretty
I guess.
It's very rare. They don't have a lot out right now. I could pop up and take a look, but we do the Funny Book Store every Wednesday, and I don't see a lot in the way of Valiant out there.
Yeah.
Bloodshot. The only reason I know this is, like you said, going to the comic shop on Wednesday. Dennis and I go to different ones. I saw Bloodshot, and I was like, oh, and it was actually number 2. But you're right. Like, the last thing they did was Exo Manowar with Liam Sharp. It was 6 issues. Now it's Bloodshot. It might literally be just like, let's put out 6 of this title. Okay, let's move to this one.
So they're doing like limited runs for a little while.
I guess.
Going on to another character. Wow.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think they're kind of like IDW kind of got into some financial troubles. Which
a lot of your small press guys are struggling right now, and I like on my channel I do quick flips, and I always try and show I basically only do independent books, not just crowdfunding, but Source Point Press, AWA, Boom Studios, a lot of your second and third tier publishers, because that's to me where all your really good titles are, and you never know what's going to be a really great book. So for me, it's worth taking a shot at trying to do that. Pick them up.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if I've asked you this before. Man, we could get on these comics, but I want to kind of do a Jin Saki and dovetail it into a Kor-Drath. I probably asked you this before, Dennis. I think that's the first time you've actually been on this channel. Appreciate you coming on. I and Shadowhawk would love to come on with you two over there on one of your channels, because I know both of you have them and simultaneously stream, I think. But if you just talk comics, you can tell a diehard collector who's been at it a while, but now how did Kor-Drath kind of congeal? How did it come about with you two?
Well, we were actually on our way to a convention. I don't remember which convention, but it was one that was a 3-4 hour drive. And, we're always talking about something, right? And, on a long trip, and, we were on their way, and Andy goes, well, I just got to ask you a question, something we've never talked about. And I was like, what's that? And he goes, thinking about trying to do something different. He goes, I love doing First Man and that, but, I want to do something different. Not sure what I want to do, but maybe we could spitball, and would you be interested in writing a story? And I'm like, depends on what it was, because, he's done Jungle Lords and things like that. And I was like,
now, have you written before with him?
Not in comics. No, this
Okay.
is my first time doing comics and things like that. I do prose, I do short stories, I do stuff like that. But that was one of the big challenges we talked about. And he goes, well, writing for comics is completely different than what it is. So, you got a little homework to do, but Andy's got old scripts and stuff. He sent them over. I went through it. I picked up a bunch of books on how to read. I sat there and talked, and it wasn't all smooth sailing. My first script, we sat down and went through it, and we had a friend of ours go through, and he goes, I love what you've written, but you've got way too much in there. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, you've got enough for a trilogy sitting here, and you've got way too much packed in there. So we had to back out and work through it. And the second time was the charm. We read through it, and he goes, boom. It flowed really nicely. You had to do something a little different.
So he got it, and you gave him a tome, and he said, let's start with episode 4.
Yeah. I was like, I looked at his first draft, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know you were a stand-up comedian. This is the funniest thing I've ever read. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're serious? You expect to pack this much into this many pages?
Right.
No,
and
I
mean, how many pages was Kor-Drath #1?
80.
80. And
well, my part, Bud Root did 4 pages. My part was actually 75. And then there was
everybody hit the stretch goals, so that was part of it. As if we got bigger and bigger, we would add more story, and I had plenty of it obviously lined up to go. So, I actually said when we were talking about it, and you go, do I just try and fix some stuff, or now that I know, I literally scrapped the entire thing and started over? And I'm really glad I did.
Have you guys seen a lot of reviews for the first one, and were they favorable?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Pretty much every person that we've talked to or tweeted about it or whatever has been really favorable. So
now,
one of their
you did a tribute
books.
cover to Conan #1 on the first one. Are there any tribute covers on this issue?
Yeah. Yep. If you scroll down, right below the main cover is the homage cover.
And you've got Dan Lawless doing some coloring for you too, right?
Yep. Dan colored the first cover over me, so we want to keep that going.
Yeah.
For the next homage cover, right there.
Now, which homage cover is this? What would this be?
It was Conan #2. So the first one was Conan #1, and this is Conan #2.
Okay. All right. Wow.
And and honestly, we didn't plan it that way. When we were thinking, what should we do for the homage for this one? We were looking, and it just so happened that one fit perfectly.
Got Bud Root #2 as well.
Yep.
Bud Root. Yeah.
Yep. And that cover actually lines up with the Lilneth cover that he did for the first campaign. So you can put them right next to each other.
Is the black and white edition, is that like an artist edition, or is that just the line work, the black and white stuff?
Yeah, no, this time it's just going to be the black and white line art like it is for the colors, real high contrast. No, not the artist edition. It'll be, printed regular graphic novel size and cost the same, $25. And it'll have all the lettering so you can read it as well.
Any return villains or villainesses, on this one?
Well, yeah, the story is kind of, the plots are continuing. So we've got Lilneth and Necronite, of course, the big bad Vordoom was revealed at the end of the first book, so he's definitely in it. So
and then play the game. You had that on the first series.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the first one was Mayhem in the Mirador Mountains. And for those of your watchers that play, this was based off the original red box set. The new one is off the second box set. And so it's really a tribute to the old school role playing from the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you sit down and actually found time to play it since you produced it?
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, Dennis. I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't. I've never really done role-playing games. This is totally Dennis's area of expertise. But no, he test plays it just to make sure, like any product, it works.
Wow. Yeah,
so he test played it.
Are dope. Yeah, I like the collector's boxes. That's cool.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that.
So yeah, he definitely he test plays it for sure.
Yeah. And you like these hostess pie type things, or
Oh, the parody
the,
ads.
the
Yeah, I
little
love
parody
those.
ads, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I love those. Got to
Uh,
always include one. I mean, the first one I did, it was fun. And I always figured I just would always do one. And this is like the fifth one now.
mhm.
So it's kind of cool. And I think it's something that, people expect. So, and I like doing them. Dennis likes writing them.
Yeah.
How do you end the story? I mean, we're obviously not doing a monthly. You're getting these things out for field and everything on, but still there's a long wait between like issue 1, issue 2 as the
Sure.
campaign rows and stuff. So how do you segue, I guess,
Well,
from issue to
one of
issue?
the things is we didn't want everything to be cliffhangers because that's what your monthly books are.
Mhm.
Because there's such a long period, it's okay to having an over arc between them because in order to tell an epic story, it's got to be epic in length. But every single book has to have a self-contained story. You're going to
Right.
start here, you got to work through everything, and you got to end it here even though it's all still in the overriding arc of what a main story would be. So you still have to have a starting and an ending point in each book, and it's got to
Right.
be fulfilling. And this is where we heard back from a lot of people that I've never met before that had bought the book and stuff, and they were like, dude, that ending was such a surprise and amazing. And they were like, I was thrilled with it. I hope you do more like that. And so we got a lot of, because it was a gamble on our part to go that route to end the first book, and it
Mhm.
paid off.
Yeah.
Now, how does this appeal to you, Dennis? Because I know you're a big X-Men fan. How does this genre kind of appeal to you? And I got to applaud you, Andy, for pivoting and saying, you know what, I want to do something different. Even though I've got a successful IP over here, let's do something
Right.
different. A lot of people try that and they don't succeed, and I think they don't stick with the successful IP. But if you have fairly successful IP in First Man, which was like an old property that you wanted to resurrect, so I don't blame you
Hmm.
there. I think that's so cool that he has a history beyond the crowdfunding thing. Uh, how does this kind of appeal to you, Dennis? I mean, as far
Well,
as the barbarian type, and
well, when we were determining what we wanted to do, so
yeah.
we do our live stream, and you were right when you said I stream it on the DNA show, Andy streams it on the Andy Smith Art Show, and so
Mhm.
we've got a diverse group of people between both camp shows put together. One of the things, because they all know that I'm a role player, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since it's close to its inception, since the late 70s, early 80s.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I've been big into it. I have been DMing for a long, long, long time, coming up with stories. And it was just interesting because whenever we would do a show, we would have people in there going, you guys ought to do something fantasy based. This would be great if you did something RPG, fantasy, da da da. And we got that literally every weekly on any show that we did, somebody would bring it up. So when Andy and I were talking about what do we want to do we want to do something sci-fi? Do we want to do something in which genre? And we looked and we're like, we literally have a built-in audience that really wants to see something fantasy-esque. So as
Right.
we started talking, what is Andy really great at drawing? Really beautiful women and really strong buff men.
So
So
was all this decided as you're going to the convention,
Yeah.
or or is that just the starting process of it?
Well, I
the
mean,
bulk,
the decision for the type of book and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that it was Fayetteville, so that's like a four
yeah,
four
yeah,
hour
yep,
drive.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's like a
So
4 hour drive. So yeah, we decided on all that. We didn't have the name or
right.
any of that stuff for
So you're
yeah.
co-plotting, and Dennis, are you the sole writer? Or are you co-writing it?
No, he's the
Yeah,
sole
no,
writer.
yeah, I'm the
We
Okay.
writer.
talk about ideas, but when it comes to typing everything out and writing everything
Yeah.
and all that, it's all him. But then I'll read it and we'll go over it before I start
Because you
drawing
guys have been
and stuff.
friends for a long time, right? Y'all back and forth all the time, right?
Yeah, too long.
Too
You
long.
son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
Well, I knew that. I didn't want to say Dennis. Come on, man. Come on.
No, one of the things that we do, he's right. I'll write up a story,
I'm sorry, Andy.
and when
No,
we
it's
go
okay.
through something, we'll go back and forth, and he'll be like, that's really cool, but what about this? What about that? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's no different. So I'm all about world building, and world building comes from my background because I'm not just making a generic thing. Like when I created each of the characters, there's 100 questions that you have to write out in order to understand their background, their history, their family lineage, all of that stuff going up, what their motivations, what their weaknesses are, all of these different things
So is all this coming easy to you because you've done Dungeons and Dragons so long?
Yeah, world
Are you
building
taking bits and pieces from other characters that you've done in the past, I guess?
Yeah, or it's just funny because we started talking. Well, what do you want? And he's like, oh, I don't know. What about this and that? And I said, what you just described, what you want to draw would work great for a barbarian campaign. And I was like, yeah, what's barbarians? So we started going, and I said, all right. And what type of barbarians do we want? Well, if we need a male and a female that fit exactly what Andy likes, I was like, well, that's cool. We do this and that. And the one thing I said was, the girl, she's got to kind of look like Jean Grey. That's my favorite character, obviously from X-Men. And he's like, hey, that's not a problem. So I developed her entire background, her tribe's background, what lineage she comes from, how magic works in the system. All of that has to be put down before we can even start writing a page on it. So I did that. And then I said, okay, Andy, do you want him to use an axe or a sword? And he goes, oh, I'd love an axe. Cool. Boom. So I gave Andy all of this detailed information on the characters, and I said, go to town. And Andy then came up with all the character creation of what they physically look like.
Okay. And it's kind of like J. Michael Straczynski, right? He wrote Babylon 5. And he said, I wrote 1,000,000 years in the past and 1,000,000 years in the future, and kind of met in the middle, and where I knew where I'd been and where I was going with the story.
Yep.
And I guess that's kind of what you're doing when you're doing the character layout with all the characters, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What they can, their limitations, and there's magical beings in this, wizards and things like that. I guess that comes with the barbarian genre, doesn't it?
Magic itself, and every single magic system is different. That's when you read books, you don't know. So you have to be able to establish rules on how does your world work? How many hours are in a day? How many moons do you have? How does that affect things? Well, how does your calendar work? How does magic affect this? What types of magic are they? How are they cast? What are the pros and cons? What are the negative effects? All of that has to be laid out before you can write a single word of story.
Yeah. And I mean, Andy, you're kind of co-plotting, right? I mean, actually they do that in the credits of the old Marvel ones. I know, when you kind of co-plot. So I don't know if y'all are hung up on that. Y'all are such good friends, but I mean, would you say that he's trying to write towards your strengths? Because as a
I think so.
artist, you got to be able to draw anything, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, but that goes without saying with any, if you're going to be a comic book artist for a living, you've got to go into it just knowing I've got to be able to draw anything, because anything could get thrown at you, to draw. And even after being in the business, when I started this for 31 years, there were still things that, I came across in the story, and I'm like, I've never drawn that before. I've never drawn that before. And, you just tackle it. And if it's something you have to design it, whatever. When, in regards to the plotting and writing, we know where it's going to go. And Dennis really mapped it out nicely for, this volume and down the road. And, kind of like I said, once he'll write a batch of pages and I'll read them, and generally we'll get on the phone or maybe even something like this, but not on air, just like a video call.
Right.
And we'll just go through it just to, talk it over. And if I think, what if we change this or whatever, I'll just throw it out there. And generally, if he says no, I override it because I can. That's what the boss does.
Yeah.
And so I always get my way.
Okay. Well, I thought Dennis was the boss, but thank you for shattering that illusion.
No. Dennis
Most
is the
people
bottom.
have
I'm the
that
top.
perception, yes.
Yeah. Well,
It's that stupid. It's that
Hey,
perception where everybody goes, "Oh, he's the bigger guy, so he must be the boss."
he throws his
No, we
weight
don't live in
around.
that world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, the reality of it is, look, we are friends, and when we're working, you kind of have to take the friend's hat off in a way and set it aside and say, he'll say, well, what about this? And I'll be like that. We can go back and forth. You see us argue on our channels and stuff, and that is pretty much who we are. But I can never take offense to anything he says, and he can't take offense to anything that I say. Right. And we don't, because we both know we're trying to put out the best product. I may have my idea, he may have his, but in the end, it's a collaboration.
But Dennis, you would admit, I've got long-term friends for over 40 years with some of my friends, and they're, I can count them on one hand how many I have. But I mean, I'm not the easiest guy to get around, but I bet you've had some knockdown, drag out things, huh? But you get over it, right? Yeah. Have you never?
No, not really.
No.
Well, that's no good.
To. I mean, not even in. I'm just trying to think. I mean, definitely not work-wise. We haven't.
No. The closest thing we had was coming back because I'm a Packers fan. He's a Cowboys fan. And we were driving back from a convention.
I'm smart. He's wrong.
Listening to the Cowboy-Packer game. And the Packers utterly demolished the Cowboys. It was pathetic. They were like children. And I really wanted to lay.
This is why like Dennis is a writer. Dennis exaggerates so well.
I know, it's like taffy, isn't it? He just pulls it out.
And the Cowboys are like putty in the Packers' hands, and that's
boy,
how it worked. The game was so lopsided. I actually felt bad for him, and we both threatened whoever was driving home. If the other one's losing and it's bad, we're just going to drive off the cliff and we're just going to end it. Kor-Drath ends here. And it was bad, though. You could just tell. And he was like, oh my God. Oh. And I wanted to lay into him, but I didn't. I think
you're showing great restraint even now.
But to be fair, let's be fair. If it were if it was the other way around, and it wasn't with the Packers game, but for instance, a couple years ago, it was a playoff game with Tampa and Green Bay, and Tampa won. And I was the same way. I didn't get all up in his business about it because I know he's a big Packer fan.
Some of the best stuff I've ever seen you do, and the two couple videos that you've done on it I was blown away. It still holds up today. It reminded me of Dave Cockrum's The Futurians, like your NFL stuff that you did with designing mascots for all the characters. That's just awesome stuff, man, that you did.
Thank you.
You definitely do like a mixed team like that. It's just awesome. I always like that, like where you had the animal element in it, like the Futurians had the eagle type guy or falcon type guy, and then you had like the super Soviet characters at Marvel, and then one guy would become the bear, of course. I just like that element, of like changeling or animal, within the group, maybe that's why I like the Beast so much out of the Avengers, because he was beastal, he's more ape-like, and now they turn him into a pussycat, or did. Hate that, but what would you say is your holy grail, Andy, as far as books are concerned?
What do you mean?
Yesterday was the anniversary of Action Comics #1 coming out.
Yeah,
baby.
I mean, I don't know. I've worked on most of the stuff I've wanted to work on. The characters I like. I've lucky enough I got to draw them. when I was working for the mainstream. So honestly, I don't really have one anymore. No, I don't. I mean, because I'm really content and happy with doing my own thing,
Right.
and working with Dennis and stuff. I don't have,
there's not like a character, like you said, I really would have liked to have worked on Batman, but I never got the chance.
Well, the funny thing is, so I have drawn Batman, but the thing is, I'm not a huge Batman fan from the standpoint of wanting to draw it. And I can give you a great example. I was offered to work on a project, and this was a couple years ago. I was working on First Man, Indiegogo, but at the same time, somebody, not a company, but, I was contacted by a creator that had a project he needed somebody to draw like a chapter in because it was broken up between different artists. Long story short, it was a genre that I would like to read, but one I would never want to draw. So the best example I can give is if DC called me up and said, "Hey, we're doing Sergeant Rock. We'd like you to draw it." I would say no, because I like Sergeant Rock. I like reading Sergeant Rock, but not in a million years do I want to draw army stuff and tanks and all that stuff.
Well, Billy Tucci did.
I know, and he loves that stuff, and you can tell it shows in the work.
And so that's what I'm saying. A writer has to write to the artist's strengths, right? I mean, because some artists are a little better, or
well, yes and no. I mean, I've
certain things, and
I mean, yes and no. I've worked with, with Kor-Drath. It's not really writing to my strengths because we co-created it, and there's nothing. It's not like in Kor-Drath that there's ever going to be a scene of a bunch of guys storming a tribe with a bunch of, machine guns and Uzis and they're in army gear. That'll never happen. So with Kor-Drath, everything in it is stuff that I want to draw, with that First Man, because I was co-writing that with somebody, everything in First Man was stuff I wanted to draw. Generally throughout my comic career, when I was working for Marvel, DC, Valiant, whoever, 95% of the projects, it was stuff that I like to draw. I did an issue of Grant Morrison's Seven Soldiers Frankenstein. It was a miniseries.
Oh yeah.
And Jeff Lemire wrote it. Yeah, and Jeff Lemire wrote it, but I'm not really like that genre, like drawing Frankenstein.
Yeah, that would even be more like Graham Nolan, right?
It wasn't your typical Frankenstein.
Yeah,
if you saw it, it was still a really big, hulked out looking dude. So I made it fun for myself to draw,
right?
But I only drew it because they needed somebody to draw this one issue because the regular artist was behind, and I was in between gigs. Right. So I was like, yeah, I need to earn money. I got to make a paycheck. So yeah, I'll draw it. So I made it fun, but it's not something that, if I was in a position where I could have been like, nah, I'm good, give it to somebody else, I probably would have.
Yeah.
But, this is a commercial business. This Dennis is probably going, who's leaving the house, Andy? You heard the garage. I know you did.
I did.
I'm like, I looked out. I'm like, where the hell's my wife going?
Are you kidding? Dennis
she's finally leaving me because of Dennis. I do. But no, so like I take any job as a challenge.
Hey, Shadow.
But once again, the nice thing about being able to do the creator owned stuff is I'm never really worried about, oh God, I don't want to draw this.
Yeah. Well, now what publisher published First Man when it first came out?
It was Image.
It was Image?
It was Image. Okay. Yeah, it was just one issue.
I think the first exposure was in your drawing book, though. He was in your drawing book, right? He wasn't?
No, the first exposure. Yeah, no, because that came out in the year 2000, and First Man came out in 97.
Okay. I thought you had included a drawing or two in there.
No, I did. The characters for the drawing book were based.
Right.
You could say
saying
in the First
for
Man
me,
world.
I think that was my first exposure.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
to your character was actually in your drawing book and not an Image.
Yeah.
I had not seen the Image stuff, I don't think, but I kind of quit around 99, 2000 there to
Sure.
do you work with the homeless and in the prisons and things like that. So I kind of
So
for
that's
a
where you
couple of
met
years
Dennis
yes.
in the prisons.
Well, yeah,
I knew
yeah,
it. Dennis told me he met this YouTuber, but
right.
back in the day, he was working in a prison and he specifically said he had to check my prison wallet.
Andy.
Yep. Yep.
And he found no contraband,
And
even
Dennis, he
going in
said
with two
you
hands.
exaggerate and pull things, you know.
No.
Right.
He
No,
took that and
nobody
ran
believes
with it
Andy. We know.
like a cowboy cheerleader down
You're
the end
damn
zone.
right.
All you do is SMH and just go.
Yeah.
It's all you can do.
Shake my head. Got it.
Wow, shake my
Sorry.
head. How about you, Dennis? You got a holy grail in your collection?
He owns it.
Yeah, I do
Well, it's
actually.
Quasar number
In
50.
terms of what I own,
Well, there you go. And that
Yeah.
had the special holoful cover.
It did. It had the foil cover.
I know.
Two
It's nice.
Quasar 50 fans in my presence.
Oh, number one. Wow, you've had that a while.
That is my X-Men number 1 that I bought slabbed, cracked it open the next week to get Stan Lee to sign it while he was still with us.
Wow, CBCS graded, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I worked and saved up a long time. My wife kept saying no because I was down. I had gotten 4, 3, 2, and that was the very last X-Men comic that I needed out of all the X-Men, or X Factor, X Force, all of that. Yep. So I wound up getting it.
I have a story for you guys for X-Men number 1. Okay, somebody I knew, they went out to San Diego Comic-Con, right? Now he had credit card, you know, he had so much money, you know, about 10 grand, right? Would have been his whole load that he had available to him at the time.
Sure.
Somebody walks in with X-Men 1 through the end, the whole story done by Jack Kirby.
Wow.
And they want $10,000. And one of the stupidest
moves
he'd
somebody
ever did.
walked in with somebody walked in with just the Jack Kirby stuff?
With the
Of
X-Men number 1 story, not the cover, but the interior pages. And he could have bought them for $10,000. He didn't. I said, stupido.
Yeah.
Okay. That person turned around and sold it to somebody else for $20,000. Then that person at the same con turned it around and sold it to another person for $50,000. And then that person turned it around at the same con and sold it for $100,000, which works out. I worked the math out, $7,500 a page, a damn steal, even for Kirby page, even if it wasn't a key issue. And then they promptly left the convention with the artwork, which, you know, you'd be crazy not to, you know, not to hold on to it, you know. Or, and he was crazy not to buy it for $10,000. I mean, how much would that have worked out with per page? Nothing.
Wow.
You know, but you know, he's had some luck. There's this woman that he was at the laundromat somehow, I guess because he's a big comic collector, right? I mean, he's a freaking millionaire when it comes to comics. Dennis, I kid you not, he had graded, and most of them were 9.8s. Probably not the earlier issues, because as you go back, you know, they're harder to get. I mean, a 6.5 for some of these books might be a high grade on some of these books. If you're looking for a 9.8, you're going to be looking for a while. It may not exist, folks. But he had one X-Men 1 past 500 graded, most of them 9.8s. But he had bad health things, which he's still dealing with, and he had to cash all that in, you know, put that up for sale. But it was an incredible collection. Most, you know, can you imagine just to get, I know at one time he was having slabbed about $400 worth of books per month, each month, you know, quite a bit. But yeah, he's got a lot of that pre-code horror, a lot of stuff you wouldn't, you know, so a lot of production artwork and stuff, a lot of stuff that I bought, I've gotten from him. Incredible collector, you know. He even had one of those rat think cars, you know, one of those
As a
dragster
collector,
type cars.
would love to have seen that. That would have been a collection just to behold. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I still upgrade my collection at the SC Comic Con here. I just upgraded. I've got a lot of my stuff raw. I got X-Men 17. Somebody had a beautiful copy. It was a 7.0 slabbed one. And I'm like, the reds popped off on it, and that's a hard book to get to look real good. And I wound up upgrading. I wound up buying that one. So now I've got a reader copy, and I've got that. So
Dennis, I got a
upgrade
question
it.
for you. I've got a Thor that has, I think, a Ron Friends cover. It's kind of like a key issue. The return of the classic Thor after they had the armored up Thor and stuff, I think.
Okay.
But it is a color error on the cover. Maybe they ran out of ink or something, but it's blue and it should be green. It differs from all the.
Is it a known error where they had X number of 100 or 1,000 that have been printed with
I don't
the
know if it's
color?
known or not. Because I know they don't always do that, because the guy I was talking about, he had what was it? He had a variant, and there was very few, like maybe 8 made it through or something, like the logo, and CGC wouldn't recognize it.
Okay.
The logo on the book kind of came out fluorescent. It was an image book, an early image book. And how that ever came out, I don't know, but they wouldn't recognize it to grade it. But now, a big development with CGC. Now aren't they doing signature verification like CBCS was doing?
I don't know if they
because
started.
I saw a Heritage book where it was signed on the inside by and it wasn't part of their signature series, and it still got blue label and said signed by Stan Lee on the front page. They got to be doing
label. So CBCS did it. If they witness it, it goes on a gold label.
Right, but this was a Heritage book that this was in that auction lot of that Action Comics #1 that went up for $6 million. And I noticed another book that was signed. I forget the book, but it was signed on the inside front page by Stan Lee, and it still had the blue label, like they were doing the signature verification. I don't know, but
the signature verification's a gold label.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, right. And previously they said, well, written on the cover, Stan Lee, and they don't, and it gives maybe that hurts the grade.
Right, but that's not a verification of a signature then. So usually what they had done is, I believe, if it was incomplete, it would be green, and if it was restored, it would be purple. And usually when they had an unverified signature that was on there, a lot of times they would give a purple label and say, it says whatever in pen on here.
That's why I say, are they doing that now? Because they may have bowed to the pressures of CBCS, because
but they would alter it in a different label.
It had a blue label, and it denoted that it was signed on the inside. I've never seen them do that before.
I have not heard of them doing that, but if they were, so for example, in CBCS, if it's verified, it's a gold label. Yeah. If it's where you spend the money afterwards, so I've got a whole bunch of comics that are signed that are not verified. You can spend money to go through their signature verification program, their VSP, and then pay for it. And then if they can verify it, it comes back in a red label that says that is indeed an authentic signature. But it's a red label to differentiate it from the ones that they witnessed.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to say no if it's a blue label, because they would come up with a different label if they verified it. I'm thinking they just didn't purple it. All they did was say, because they didn't say signature verified by Stan Lee, they're just saying signed signature says Stan Lee on the inside first page or cover.
I'll have to go back and look at that, because I retweeted that or whatever. That was on the, like I say, the Action Comics
Yeah, I
$6
hadn't
million
seen that.
book. Yeah. And but yeah, I'm interested in the process of that because I've got like the occasional error or like double cover, got
Yeah, yeah.
some,
Oh yeah, I love
a
double
trip.
covers.
I've seen one graded that had on eBay that had 6 covers. And of course they go by the inner cover as the
Yeah.
final grade. And often that's protected. And that was 9.8, but they grade every cover.
Yeah.
They graded all 6 of them. I myself had a 4, but I didn't find it out in the wild. I actually got it from the distributor, the guy that actually put the books out and took them up, for the publisher. But now I found a 3 out in the wild, a three cover.
Yeah.
And I've
So
found a couple of 2s, but
and those are just considered printing errors, but there are collectors out there for it. So an example would be Marvel Secret Wars, the first issue. There's a set of error books out there, and it's on the inside. Galactus is printed blue versus his regular cover. So there is a known error that's a blue Galactus printing, and people collect those. But those are known, and it's usually denoted if you get them, slabbed by one of the companies.
Yeah, I don't know if the Thor is going to be known on that one. That's why I was wondering if they would even grade it. Now, I have another Thor that the pages are printed out of order. Are they even going to slab something like that? Now, they had a Legion of Superhero done like that too.
Well, I mean,
I have one of those.
As far as I know, and Dennis can definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, they'll slab anything. They don't care if it's pages are out of order.
We had one guy, and he had a beautiful. It was Edge of the Shadowverse. It was the first Gwen, right? Gwenpool. The what I'm talking about. And he sent it in. It was beautiful. He was expecting to come back a 9.8, and it came back a 0.5. And he was like, "What?" And yeah, it was missing. So, when they put in, I used to work on a bindery and a stitchery. So when they go on, it pulls all the pages. For whatever reason, it missed one of the pulls. So it was missing one of the folds in there.
So it was incomplete.
Four readable pages were missing. It's an incomplete book. It's instantly a 0.5.
Yeah, I worked at World Color in the bindery section as well. So I know, how, I mean, I've worked on Newsweek and a lot of the polybagger to polybag stuff and mail it out in bags. It's quite a, and the airline books that are glued, I used to be a cover feeder.
Yep.
So a lot of fun, man, to learn the process there. Pour the glue chips in the big vat and everything. It's a lot of fun. So you guys are doing pretty well with Kor-Drath here, The Awakening. Just to get back to the campaign here, let's watch the trailer because we have not watched the trailer yet, and I do apologize ahead of time. It is Rex's Choppy S Theater. Get your Viewmasters out, folks.
That's right.
That Andy Smith artwork. Epic and scope. A saga you never existed.
Yeah, that's right.
But always wanted. Now, Dennis did all the sound effects, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the galloping and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I bought the Kor-Drath beanie. Do you have another beanie on this one or a ketchup?
We haven't put anything like that up yet.
Okay.
But it's not going to be a new beanie. We're going to put up the beanie again. You know,
Mhm.
we're going to put up the original Kor-Drath t-shirt that was on the first campaign because everybody really liked that one. And
Mhm.
then we have a new t-shirt that we'll show and talk about when we're closer to putting it up. So,
Okay. Yeah. I
yeah.
was hoping to wear my Inco t-shirt from RT Bear today. So we got Kor-Drath, the Awakening big box. Golly, what's all in that?
So the Awakening big box retails
Yeah.
for $162. Yours for $135. It's everything that is part of Kor-Drath, the Awakening. So it's every cover. So the 4 different covers, the
Mhm.
black and white edition of the book, the volume 2 game module, the Adriana trading card, and it's all comes in the nice Kor-Drath collector's box.
Now, did you do the collector's box? Excuse my ignorance,
No,
on
go
your
ahead.
on the first campaign, but did you do the collector's box for one, or is that
Nope.
something
Nope.
new?
Brand new.
Nope. Brand new, brand new for this campaign. Yeah.
Okay.
We just got the prototypes back a couple of weeks ago, so
Oh,
they turned out great.
Sure, you say that. Can you show us? You don't have them there?
Well, yes, I can.
Well, there you go.
And guys, it's real. See, you heard
Wow.
that? You could hit somebody with it. On the
And
bottom,
the echo is all Andy head.
it is.
Sure. Yeah.
On the bottom is the volume 1 homage cover. On the top, because this is the Awakening box, it is the volume 2 homage cover.
That's cool. Yeah.
On the back, you could say if you want to slide it into a bookshelf. Oops, wrong way. Slide it into a bookshelf. It looks like just one big fat book. Spine. The front, of course, where you lift up the lid is old Kor-Drath. And this is one reason, guys, lesson why you do prototypes. Oh, Astonishing is upside down. So on the real box, that'll be readable the proper way. So that's actually one reason why, because we've never done a box before. So we actually paid a little bit because we only had 4 of these printed up.
Right.
And so it was kind of costly for them, but it's worth it to see what we're going to be shipping out to the customers and the backers.
I'm glad you showed that, Andy, because I mean, on here it looks like you've got 2 separate boxes, but you've got the best of both worlds on one box.
Yep, it's one box. I just want to show every angle of it.
Yeah. But I was thinking, okay, well, that's why I was asking, did you do one with that, or are you kind of retro going back? Because it looked like 2 separate boxes to me, but that's cool that you got issue 1 on one side and issue 2 on the other.
Yep.
That's and all that dope, the logo and everything. And so if you back to the hilt Kor-Drath 1 and you back to the hilt Kor-Drath 2, is that box going to hold all of the books?
Yeah, so the big booty daddy tier, as we call it, that's all the way at the bottom, that's $400.
Right. Okay.
$99. Guys, under $400. It's $399. Retail is like $520, I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is everything from the Reckoning, the first campaign, and everything from this campaign. And yes, everything fits in the box except for, of course, the artist edition, because the artist edition is 9x12. The game modules, of course, are 8.5 by 11, so they won't. But all the actual graphic novels, yes, everything listed fits in that box. That's another reason we got it made, so we can make sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's a thick box. It's a thick box.
Yeah. Some might call it girthy.
Well, yeah. Figure sketch commission. Talk about that.
That's right. Well, you they're 7x10, and it obviously comes with the book, and you get to pick what character you would like me to draw for your figure sketch commission.
Now, does it have a drop down list where they will select when they pick
select what?
The character that they want you to draw?
No. Once the campaign's over, I send everybody
an
email saying, hey, I'm going to start working on the figure drawing commissions. Who do you want? Same with the
Yeah.
head sketch. I send an email out when the
Okay.
campaign's coming to a close, asking them
Now,
what they would like.
now on this one, you have other characters besides Kor-Drath characters. Is it the same thing with the figure sketch, or is it to be
Yeah,
a
because that's not a
Kor-Drath
that's not a
character?
Kor-Drath character either. That's Penumbra, actually. That's just
Oh, okay.
they're just examples. Yeah, they're just examples so
Okay.
people can see what they might get. That's all.
Yeah. Not. I'm sorry we didn't get the Penumbrum. But did I say
No,
her name right?
okay. Penumbra. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Penumbra T-shirt. I had ordered that, but I don't think you had
Oh
enough
yeah.
orders to produce it.
Nope.
Kor-Drath 1 and 2 catch up tier.
Yep, and that has the new. We're going back to print for the Reckoning with a new Bud Root cover.
Mm-hmm.
So
what did Dan Lawless do on this project for you?
colored the covers, and then he colored Bud Root's 4-page story on the inside.
And this gaming piece too, didn't he?
Cards.
Didn't he
Yep,
color
he colored
the gaming? Yeah.
Yep, he colors the cover to the gaming module over Bart's ears. He colors the character cards that we do for the game. So
okay, all right, yeah. He must have been rolling, just because he really likes barbarian type stuff,
oh yeah.
Where did you first meet Bud Root? How did you get connected with Bud Root?
We moved here. My family and I moved here in 2005. And I went to a local one-day convention that the promoters are friends now, but at the time, obviously, I didn't know them. And went to this one-day convention and just wanted to check it out, see if it was a convention I might want to consider talking to the guys about setting up at. And Bud was a guest, and I knew Bud's name from Cave Woman. I knew what Cave Woman was. I had no idea he lived here, so I just started talking to him and basically was like, where are you from? And he's like, oh no, I live here in Charlotte. And I was like, oh, I just moved here. And we became fast friends, and that's about it.
Yeah, I know his Cave Woman, his Cave Girl, big, rusty, heck yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sketchbook says, is Kor-Drath the beginning of a whole universe with spin-offs and such as just a character-driven volume book set?
I mean, there won't be any. I mean, as of now, there's not going to be like a spin-off book with another one of the characters. It'll all just be Kor-Drath stuff. If in the back of the first book, we had a 4-page story that Bud wrote and drew with Lilneth. Nice little story. We'd like to do something like that again for this book. Of course, it'll be a stretch goal that has to be met. And so, if we can get a little 4 or 5-page story in the back of every book drawn by somebody else, that would be really cool. And
let's talk
have it.
Let's talk stretch goals here real quick.
Sure.
What we got going on with the stretch goals and the add-on?
Well, we're going to probably announce them next week, but we're going to not in any particular order because that's what we'll put up next week. But for now, we'll have the character cards. We plan on doing 4 playable character cards, just like with the first campaign. Cool artwork on the front by me and Dan. And then on the back of the card is the playable stats for the character if you want to play him in a role-playing game. So we plan on doing 4 of those because we did 4 for the last campaign. And then, we'll just play it from there. We're going to, like I said, we're going to add those next week with the amounts that have to be met to unlock each one. And, once those 4 are done, we've got other options for possible stretch goals. But until we get there, we'll keep those tight to the vest. So it's basically 4 character cards, probably a stretch goal for the 4-page story. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. One of the things I think my sketchbook was asking is not specifically for this campaign. It's just Kor-Drath for what we've got written out for going on. Now, this is world building. So this is, you can call it a universe, but it's really a world. We're dealing with a very small geographical spot right now in the book, but you're going to start getting introduced to new races and new characters, and the world's going to keep expanding through this. It'll be expanding through the games, and if everything went really well, once Kor-Drath's done, we have to see and do it. But could it be? Yes, it actually could be completely set up, because we've got an entire world to explore with much more than what we're going to see just in the first 4 volumes here. So the sky's the limit to it, but it all depends on how well everything goes.
Sketchbook
That's where the backers come in, guys. You want to see more of this? Well, we got to blow this campaign up, and then after this one, it's one of those things. The nice thing about doing the crowdfunding is it is in the backers' hands as well, because the better the campaign does, the more we can funnel back into the campaign in regards to stretch goals and other things. But that really does rely on the backers just sharing it. I mean, once you've backed it, that's fantastic. But then we also ask that you keep, promoting it and sharing it on your social media if you have it. So we can just spread the word.
You probably answered this somewhat, but now I would put a caveat in there with it. Were you influenced by Thundar the Barbarian?
I mean, we all watch Thundar. Matter of fact,
I love Thundar the Barbarian.
So
I wasn't visually. I was influenced by everything. I mean, everything fantasy type stuff that I like and enjoy and take in is an influence some way or another.
Did you guys realize that you were at 400 backers?
I did.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
400 backers already.
It is.
Just letting you guys know, if you're our Thundar fans out there, they just launched the complete series on Blu-ray, and it's now available, I think, for the first time.
Yep. So Dennis got it for me as a birthday present. I can't wait.
Def.
What was it?
You can get Ukla the Mock in high def.
Yeah, that's right. Ariel. Oh yeah. So no.
I want to see. I bet in high def you can see Ariel's areoles. Oh.
Yeah. Now neither of you know Alex Toth, who worked for, as a character creator, he was slated to do Thundar, but Jack Kirby wound up doing it. Do you know the reason why?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
No idea.
Because he was with Hanna-Barbera for, gosh, I don't know. 30 years. I don't know, long time.
I don't know if it was that long, but he was there for a long time.
60s, all through the 70s to the 80s. I know.
They put
into
books
the
out.
mid-80s. Yeah.
Yep. They put books out with a lot of his art from that he did for Hanna-Barbera.
Hi, Doc.
Yeah.
Hey, Doc.
What's up?
I was going to say, you guys were mentioning, how far out do you guys want to go? What do you guys want to, add and stuff? Well, this all goes back on to, we've got such a fan base. After the first one, they were saying, hey, we really would like some kind of a figure. So, for example, Andy did the artwork, sent him into a professional sculptor, and you will notice this is Andy's artwork. We have 3 playable sizes: the 2-inch, the 3-inch, and the 5-inch. If you want more of a statue,
that's cool.
Like character. But it turned out really, really fantastic.
And is that cast or is that 3D printed?
These are
3D printed.
Okay.
Yep.
That's amazing, the detail that they can get in.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get it where it focuses in on his back, and it doesn't want to right now, of course. But if we can get it to do it, you can actually see, for those of you that read the first one, the scars that are across his back from the story and stuff. They even have the scars imprinted. It's like every little detail. So we've got them in for those of you that do role playing. We've got the 25 millimeter version for the scale, which is the 2-inch. And then some of you like the bigger ones. And then we also have the giant 5-inch, which is more of a statue size.
That's great that you have a selection like that. Now, are those, I guess those are paintable, right?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, we've got one out. It'll be a while, but I got rid of my paints because I used to paint minis and stuff. So we've sent one out to actually be painted, and we've got on my Twitter, my X page, we've actually got a poll right now asking, all right, we've got Kor-Drath done. Who do you guys want for the next one? Because it's very expensive to hire a sculptor to go through and do all of this. And so we've got it up there if you want Adriana, Lilith, Necronite, or Necronite riding Hellfire, the steed.
According to Andy, we've got about 5 minutes left, so I apologize.
Yeah.
Guys. We were kind of a slow roll with the audience coming in here because for one, Doc Blaylock had his launch right before, so a lot of people were over there on Dark Gifts, and they're going to be on that all day today on his launch and other things distracting. But now we've got a pretty good crew in here. So to summarize, what do you guys want to know about Kor-Drath? I mean, and where it's going and what you want to do with this thing ultimately.
You talking? Is that for us or the
just
people?
Kind of general? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot that we have plans for, and like I said, so many people had so many great ideas, and we would love to see X, Y, Z, and like one of them, they really wanted to see a really cool dice set, and I contacted some dice makers and was like, can we do something for Kor-Drath, very unique, maybe an axe, blood this or whatever, and that we wound up having to pass on it because the cheapest we could find to have somebody customize dice, our cost was like $40 a set. And I'm like, I'm a gamer and I don't even want to spend $40 a set, and that's cost.
Well, now I forget who it is. I'll find out for you guys. I think it's Frog G or somebody. He makes dice. He does the casting and stuff. So, he's doing that for other campaigns and stuff. So he may be cheaper. And the quality's really good too. And I'm not a gamer, but I know he does quality stuff because
and that's what we're always open for. People have ideas, we do it, and can we make it fit within the campaign? So we're always working on something because there's just a lot of great ideas.
Are you trying to start something, Sketchbook? Look, man, if you don't look, man, I've thrown Andy under the bus so many times.
I've got tire tracks on my back, on my front.
That's right. Yeah.
I roll around when I hit the ground and the bus goes over me.
Yeah.
Dennis just pushes me out of the car. So
I slowed down.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis, this is my house. I know. Slows down to 10 miles an hour, opens the door, pushes me out.
Tuck and roll. Yeah. Tuck and roll.
Yeah. Tuck and roll.
Tuck and roll. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, Dennis, I'll tuck and roll, but you just tuck. Just saying. I heard things.
More like it.
Buffalo Bill.
Such
a hater. How do you put up with such hatred?
It's water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
It's awful when we share a hotel. It's just awful when we share a hotel room and he comes out of the bathroom doing his Buffalo Bill impersonation. And I'm just like, oh, seriously, come on. Now I'm going to have nightmares.
All right. Last question, guys. What have you added to your collection of late that you're very proud of?
Let's see. I'm trying to think.
And while he's thinking of that, Dennis, have you seen my Avengers #4 color separation?
I have not. So
there you go, the one and only.
That's the original proof of.
I know Andy's seen it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool.
You know why? Do you know why I love those?
Why?
Because
why?
I've got the X-Men ones. I got 2 X-Men pages from X-Men 4 downstairs.
Oh wow!
Yep.
Wow,
guys,
cool.
I love those, and they only made one when you got to proof them out on them. I think those are fantastic. Some people don't like it, and they say it's not real art and stuff. I think it's a wonderful because it's part of the process of creating books back in the day. So I applaud you. I love that stuff.
Yeah, so it's original artwork is only part of it, right? That's production artwork. Right. Yes. I like what John Buscema commenting on Frank Frazetta said. He said, we were all commercial artists. I mean, and it
Mhm.
really was. Frazetta was doing oil paintings and all this, and he
Oh,
created this.
he was totally a commercial
He
artist.
more than anybody, you should be kissing the ring for, because I think when it comes to the D&D and the fantasy, adventure type genre, he pretty much, in my way of thinking, now there may be others out there, but he was kind of like the impetus of it, wasn't it, with his cover paintings back in the day, back in the late 60s, 70s? Or is that giving him too much credit?
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if Prince Valiant, the strip Prince Valiant
Oh, yeah.
that Hal
Yeah.
Foster did, had
Mhm.
dragons and stuff in it. If it did, then that dates back prior
Ooh.
to Frank. But
those are-
Frank, when it comes to fantasy art, is definitely like, the godfather of fantasy artists. So
Mhm.
those are hard to see, but I actually got them framed. I put them together because they have the marks on the side where you line them up perfectly so that they
Right.
overlay. And
Right.
I married them together, and then I framed them. So you can't read them because it's just behind a picture. But I've got the two of mine hanging up right there.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see some Star Wars stuff, Star Trek stuff there too, as well. Yeah.
I'm a Trekkie. Up here is
Yeah.
all Trek stuff. Down there, that's my reading room. I've got those are the Han Solo's blaster, which is the guy who made the props and stuff. He actually made those, and then
Yeah.
Princess Leia's, and so they were never used on set, but they were props at the.
Well, Dennis, I know you're unworthy, so I've got to give the credit for Andy for getting that hammer up there for you to.
Oh yeah, I had to lift it for him.
Guys, it's been fun. We're a minute over your deadline, so
No, that's
fine.
That's all good.
Yeah,
it's fine.
See, I threw Dennis. I'm equal opportunity. Throw them under the bus. Employer.
That's
I
right.
get it.
Equally, but bump. And George Lucas in the house. Hey, George, mentioned Star Wars, and he shows up. Or actually, we didn't mention Star Wars. It was Star Trek. So what are you doing here?
Well, I did have the two blasters from Star Wars there, so there was a little Star Wars.
Yeah. So, and Andy, did you ever think what was the one thing that you got?
I mean, for me,
recently?
it's nothing recent, but one of my favorite books is Green Lantern, Green Arrow 76, the first Neil Adams Green Lantern book. And I have it's not super great. It's a 7.0 copy graded of that. So
I've noticed you've been on Twitter a lot putting on Gil Kane covers. I think he probably did more than maybe even Al Milgrom. I mean, Al Milgrom's really when you.
He definitely did. Yeah, no, Gil did more. Gil did more.
Gil's off the chain, man. I mean, when it comes to designing a cover and stuff, and
do
I
you
love
like
Gil's others when others ink him better than when he inks himself? Or is it?
I like it when he inks himself, but I also like Klaus Janson, Tom Palmer, Joe Sinnott. I mean, Gil had a lot of great inkers, and he had some stinkers, but for the most part, the nice thing about Gil's stuff is that you could interpret it when you inked it, and get your own style in it. But Gil's drawing was so strong that it didn't really matter. You could still always tell it was Gil Kane. So,
how about you, Dennis? Holy Grail, something you've gotten recently?
I did. It's not going to be, believe it or not, I've gotten a lot of, my Holy Grail for comics was that X-Men that I got signed by Stan. But I did wind up getting another Holy Grail. So I'll show you. This is my favorite. My favorite in the world is Star Trek.
Oh my God! I just want to throw up. Seriously, I'm so glad I'm not having eaten dinner.
And the one on the left, this is a 3-foot Tomy Enterprise. It's die cast.
Okay.
They recreated this. The guys from the Smithsonian Institute, the ones that restored the original Enterprise for the Smithsonian, the 11-foot. They helped
Right.
design the Tomy Enterprise with the exact colors. Every light, every detail is exactly how the original one was filmed back in 66.
That's sweet. Yeah, because I know they got a documentary out on that. The Smithsonian does on.
Yes, yes. So Tomy redid this as it's a 3-foot fully lit up working model, which is the one on the left. So I just got that because it was crowdfunded.
Mhm.
So I waited for that to come, and then I put that right next to this one, which is the Playmobil. Not nearly as expensive, but it's cool because it has all the figures on the inside. This one works off of your tablet, has all the lights, sounds, and
Oh,
stuff
wow.
like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that Tomy Enterprise, hands down, one of the coolest things I've gotten in a long time.
Yeah, it's I wish I'd had it here, and that I knew you were a Star Trek fan. I have one of those Telosians from the Cage
Oh yeah,
bust over here. Now she doesn't have the, I don't know if she came with the, it's kind of like a foam type thing. It might be a movie prop. This guy was, I did an estate sale and he had all kinds of stuff. I got like over 200 VHSs of Dark Shadows. He must have been, the whole Dark Shadows on VHS plus some of the new Dark Shadows.
wow, that's cool.
He must have been, and that ain't cheap. I mean, if you think on average, everyone was 8 and there's over 200 of them, plus the blooper reels, everything. And that was just one part of his collection. He had a Batman room. He had a martial arts room. He was big into the martial art magazines with Bruce Lee, all kinds of stuff, amazing.
That's cool.
And after his death, we just kind of went in there and
ransacked the joint.
Yeah, of course. That was kind of our payment for helping out,
It was looting on a mass scale.
Yeah, Andy, now you're calling me out. Hey, Apex.
When Dennis bumped off, I'm going to grab that big ass Star Trek Tomy one and some firecrackers on it, film it, and it'll be just like it blowing up
what's
in
really
real space.
funny? You just heard it. Andy assumes I'm kicking off first. Never happening.
Yeah, Dennis, your favorite Star Trek episode? Mine's Devil in the Dark. I can't. I'm
Oh yeah, mine is
The Cage.
Boy, if I have to go serious, it would be a Balance
Trouble
of
with
Terror.
Tribbles.
And Trouble with Tribbles is my favorite lighthearted one, but
right.
Yeah, no, I
Your
like
favorite is what now?
Balance of Terror is my favorite.
Oh, Balance of Terror. Now that's the one where you have the goatee Spock and everything, right?
No, that's Mirror.
Oh, Mirror.
Yeah, Balance of Terror is like the
Balance of Terror
one
is with the Romulans. You don't have to tell
Romulans. Yep.
Yeah. That's pre I'm the Father of Spock.
Yes. It's back when Star Trek was real.
Yeah. And that lieutenant that was always giving him problems, man, he was in the Invaders. He was multiple times. He was in several of those things. I don't know the actor's name, but he was, these characters that were in all those sci-fi things at the time,
Yep.
The Invaders in color, a Quentin Martin production, The Fugitive in color, Quentin Martin production. Yeah, I remember. I'm old enough. You guys aren't, but I'm old enough. Now I was, thumb in the mouth, but I remember going from black and white to color, even though a lot of the stuff that I watched, I probably first saw in black and white, like Star Trek, that was done in color. Because that's all we had.
The first TV we as kids had was a black and white TV. Mom and Dad had the good Zenith downstairs, but we didn't get to touch that.
Ah, okay.
Hell no.
We didn't even have that, I think ours was like a Zenith or an RCA, and it was a piece of furniture.
Oh yeah.
That's how ours was too. Yeah.
25-inch cabinet.
Our stereo was a cabinet that had the speakers on the end, and you could put the records in, and you had the record player in there, with the slide doors and everything.
That's exactly what my mom and dad had. Yep.
And you probably had the Christmas albums that had like all the crooners and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Christmas
Ella
album.
Fitzgerald and
Yep.
Yeah, Bill Crosby
It's funny you say that. We went to a record shop because I had to go out and rebuy a record player when I got rid of my stereo setup. And I found one of the Christmas albums that my folks did when we were younger. So I picked it up, and it has all of those on there. So I actually rebought it. So I now own it again.
And how much was it?
$3.
That's right, baby. The low cost of $3.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
$3.
I'm old enough.
$3.
I'm old enough to have experienced like a Spencer's that was a 5 and dime store. Now that was cool because you could go in and buy, those little jiggly creatures and spiders and different
Spencer's
things for like
yeah.
All my black light stuff from it, all the gag cards, that had all the little sayings on it, all the trick stuff. Spencer's had everything. They were awesome.
And you probably had one of those Mercury birds, right, with the straw hat. That went down.
I did not.
Have you ever seen one of those things that would go up and down?
Now, if they had an enterprise version of it, I would have had it.
Oh yeah. In fact, the Heroes World catalogs that came out in the 70s and 80s that Joe Kubert illustrated. Do you remember those mail order Heroes World catalogs?
Oh yeah. I've got some of those.
I had the Batman and the Spider-Man utility belt and things like that, that I ordered out of that. I think I still got some of it, like the Ghost Rider.
Now I never ordered anything out of it, but I have some of the catalogs because of Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, because of Joe Kubert. Yeah, he did from the very beginning on those things. Yeah.
Yep.
Sort of
I love
like
those.
around 75 or 6, something like that.
I love those.
Sketchbook, we did not have an 8-track collection. Went from LPs to cassettes. And then, I skipped right over 8-tracks, although my car did have an 8-track player.
Oh, you don't know what you were missing. I actually skipped over cassettes for a long time because, this was my thinking on it, Dennis. I want the 8-tracks because I had an 8-track. My first car was a 67 Cutlass owned by my little old aunts. I kid you not, 3 aunts. When they passed away, we inherited it. It was my brother's first car, and he drove it for a little bit. Then he got him something, and then it passed down to me, and it had 42,000 miles on it, white with red interior, 67 Cutlass. And when I was 4 years old, we went over to Texas in that thing. It only had 42,000 original miles on it when I got it in high school. And good times.
Good times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. They really were the little old ladies from Pasadena.
Yeah.
They weren't from Pasadena. They didn't go anywhere in that thing. But nice car to start out on, classic. And I can't remember why I brought that up. I mean, it was tying in with something, but anyway, it's been a pleasure to have you on, guys. I hope you'll consider having me on sometime. I'd love to talk comics with you sometime.
Oh yeah.
And
we'll have to bring
on some stuff and show and just swap stories,
Yep.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. Talking comics is always fun. So we'll have to figure out a day and stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe with a theme like, what do you consider collectible in comics? Because I've got a few thoughts on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've invested heavily into some things that you wouldn't think are that collectible, but I think down the road they're going to be highly collectible. And there are books, Dennis, that I feel like you cannot get pressed. You cannot get them pressed.
Oh, you mean
when they
increase the grade?
Yeah. Because I mean, there was a special when Tobey Maguire did Spider-Man. They came out with like these half issues of the original, and every other issue was a Steve Ditko original, and then they had Ron Friends and some others kind of ape, the whole series. There was only 24 of them come out, and they're so thin. I don't think that you could press because it would bring the staples, in print on there. So what you got is what you got as far as condition.
Yep.
And so when those were first coming out, I don't think you could press them and make them any better. That's what I'm saying. And they're so thin, they're easily destroyed.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And they were put into newspapers anyway as a promo book. But
Yep.
and they got the black edging, which is, black is just so easily messed up and shows everything.
Mhm.
I just think it's got a lot of collectability, and you've got the original Ditko covers on every other one. And I've actually got a double cover of the first appearance of Lizard in there that I'm going to have graded. But yeah, I mean, things like that, that are what I consider collectible. But one thing I know is going to be collectible is Kor-Drath. Get Kor-Drath.
You know it.
Yeah,
The Awakening. Now, what was the first title to the first one, Andy?
The Reckoning. Kor-Drath, The Reckoning.
The Reckoning. Now we got the Awakening. Okay.
That's right.
All right. And this is going to be like about the same page count as last time?
It'll be 64 total. The printed book will be
unless
64.
you add on like last time?
I mean, it's possible, but right now the printed book is 64.
Okay. So you're with the first one, you went a little heavy on it, a little larger.
And we just for that.
Yeah.
Dennis didn't know how to edit himself. I mean, no, there was just so much stuff we had to set up that, because we originally talked about doing the first one as like, 64, because that's what I've done with my other books.
Yeah.
But, he wrote it, and there was just no way that it would fit into 64. So I said, all right, it's the first one. We'll do, we'll make it bigger.
We made it bigger because there was so much that had to be told in the setup of a new world that we didn't want to shortchange it and edit stuff out. So we said this first one, we'll just make it bigger, and so be it, and get people interested, and they did, and it did.
Yeah. All right. That was my whole story about the car. I had an 8-track player, and I still have 8 tracks plus a case to keep them in. Some of them, because those are expensive, to slide in. But some of them I've worn out. But the reason I liked 8 tracks over the cassettes, where you got the album art was bigger. That was my sole thing.
Oh, yeah. I get that.
The album, on the cassette, it was like, I can't even see the artwork. And some of them had great album covers. So I bought 8 tracks. Still got a whole bunch of them. Sean Cassidy.
Oh.
I mean, sometimes I'm just desperate,
Andy Apex is asking if there's going to be a black and white magazine like Conan.
Oh, yeah, like Savage Sword, yeah.
No, I mean, we're doing a black and white edition for this campaign, but it's typical, graphic novel dimensions and size.
Mm-hmm.
To make something like that work, like a magazine, the pages have to be drawn in a different proportion, and it's not the same scale as a graphic novel. So
are you going to stick with Indiegogo, or are you going to maybe do a second chance or some other thing over on Fund My Comic or Kickstarter?
We'll see how it goes, with the campaign, a few months from now, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about that one. Dancing Queen. Yeah, I did come through the disco thing with my hair intact, by the way.
That's right.
But that's only because I had straight hair. My brother had the afro.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, yeah, man, we're going to have to do it again here soon. Wonder Twin powers activate in form of an icicle, a bucket of water.
Know it.
And all a pterodactyl and all that. Yeah. Your favorite cartoon of all time. Go.
Space Ghost.
Go.
Space Ghost.
Hard one. Yeah.
Boy, it is a hard one because
no, it's not, Dennis. Something came to your mind, just spit it out. That's what I did.
If it's cartoon or anime is considered, it's Robotech.
Stop with the qualifiers.
No.
Just what came to your mind.
You get muted. So if anime is part of it, it's Robotech hands down.
Okay.
If it's not, then if it was strictly like cartoons for daily ones,
anime is a cartoon.
It would be Transformers. It would be it was Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Dungeons and Dragons Saturday morning cartoons.
GoBot.
Liked him. Yes, I watched all of that.
That's what I get when I say GoBots. They're like, yeah, I liked them. That's all I get.
But man,
it's like the step cousin you don't want to talk about.
My jam back in the day.
Yeah, I gotta say, traditionally hand painted and drawn, probably the best of all time. Drum roll, please. Johnny Quest.
Oh yeah, love Johnny Quest too.
But for
Yeah.
sheer enjoyability and character design, I gotta go with Herculoids. Herculoids.
Yep, another good
Herculoids
one.
is cool.
Yeah, yeah, but they just didn't do enough of them. Same thing with Space Ghost. And I'm told that Alex Toth didn't like his design for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I didn't realize that he had done so much, but he was doing Super Friends all the way up into the mid 80s when they had the challenge of the Super Friends with the Legion of Doom and all those characters.
Oh, yeah.
Mask was a good call. Yeah.
Yep. Like Bass too.
Yeah, I remember that.
I had the Camaro.
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, Japanimation or early animation like Astro Boy, Marine Boy, King Kong, that was early stuff, or one of my favorite when I was real young, Tobor the Eighth Man. And Tobor is robot spelled backwards. He was a robot android type thing. Yeah. But the opener, if you've never seen it, Andy, this is why I remember it. The opener was so iconic. A flying saucer comes into the city by the bridge, like Golden Gate Bridge or something, sets down. Godzilla type lizard steps out and starts wreaking havoc on the. So he has to turn from like Clark Kent into Tobor, flies out the window, wraps him up with his own tail, and defeats him. And that's the beginning of the show. It's so iconic. And most people don't even remember Tobor. And the reason they got canceled was the way he powered up. He had these power sticks that he would have to put in his mouth and light up. And when
like
they
smoking?
said,
so that's a
no smoking, then and it wasn't in everything, but that's why it was canceled early. But it was early Japanimation or animation, like Astro Boy or Speed Racer, or King Kong or Marine Boy. Those are the ones that I remember.
Oh yeah.
It's cool. Fun stuff, man. I think the 60s was the golden age. And then, Ted Kennedy came in with that legislation about violence in cartoons for kids. And then we got the bleak 70s, nothing superhero. I mean, we went from a smorgasbord, all you can eat, like you said, Ghost Rider, there was Birdman and Dino Boy and Johnny Quest and so many to pick from. And then we had the Super Friends.
Yep.
And then we had Thunder the Barbarian. I mean, later in the 80s. I mean, there wasn't a lot they went to live action, and that was mostly filmation stuff.
Yep.
Sure.
And then we got Gay He-Man.
So.
And all that stuff. So, I mean, it even affected like Bruce Timm and what he did in the early 90s on how much blood they could show. So I'm glad we kind of come out of that censorship. I guess it kind of ebbs and flows, right? We were talking about the McCarthy years when they were actually earlier today, I and Randy Zimmerman and Russ Leach and Glenn Fleming, we were talking about the EC stuff. And we were looking at Two-Fisted Tales. And the war books of EC, some of that stuff. And one of the hardback editions and kind of looking at, the artists that did stuff, Severin and, Jack Davis and all them. And had some early Joe Kubert in there. And we were saying, that the, reason the collectability of a lot of those ECs is they burned a lot of them in the burn of the early 50s. Can you imagine book burnings?
Yeah.
The burned comics.
I ain't saying I have to run. My wife just texted. She just got home to pick me up. We got reservations, so I got to go change.
Dennis tapped
Thank God. Put some sleeves on, you weirdo.
Yeah, I know I have to. Just for for that.
I think he prefers sleeveless, actually.
Oh, I do. I don't wear sleeves normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Dennis,
pants.
Every time I see him, he's like this.
Inserting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, well, thanks for having me on, and we will chat with you guys next time.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it. Go back Kor-Drath today. Get them to 401.
No, to 2001 is what we're talking about.
Okay.
Dennis and I are gluttons for punishment. We want to mail out over 2,000 of these. Let's do it, y'all.
Okay.
Back it today. Share it
All right.
around. Let's do it.
That's right.
Let's do it. And I will play the trailer once more on Choppy Ass Theater for those that might have missed it. Thank you guys for coming on.
Yep.
All right.
Here's the trailer, folks.
All right. We'll
Bye-bye,
see you guys
everybody.
later.
See. Oh yeah, animated. Heck yeah, that's a good choice. Yep, 1967. Or yeah, 67. Yeah, Wacky Racer. Yeah, Duck Dodger. Oh yeah. Johnny come lately. Oh yeah, there you go, 60 Spider-Man. Hey, we're gonna keep